It's your boy DJ Hollywood, man, reporting live for another episode of Off the Record podcast, which is the DJ podcast where we talk to the people behind the records, but it's on, like, it's off the record, but it's like on the record, but it's off the record if you get it. You get what I mean? So if you haven't already, man, make sure you go check out the past episodes. A lot of gems within those episodes, a lot of stories. And, you know, if you don't know, what I've been doing is tapping in with the well-seasoned, vets in the game. And I have one right here with me. But before I introduce him, make sure you like, subscribe, and drop a comment, man. Drop a comment now, later, whenever, all right? All right? So we have the one, the only, the honorable DJ Trumastr in the building.
Thank you for having me. Wow. You said honorable.
Honorable.
Should that be followed with Esquire? Like, do I have a law degree?
Whatever.
This guy said honorable.
Whatever, man. So,
Thank you.
How you feeling, man?
I feel great. I'm glad to be here. I'm honored that you have me as part of something that I highly value and I think is a good contribution not only to our community, but just the video podcast world in general. Because I've seen a couple of episodes, and I think you're doing a good thing. So thanks for having me a part of it.
Appreciate that, man.
Yeah, really.
Appreciate that.
Good job.
Yeah, man. So had some of your comrades on so far. Nate the Great specifically.
Yeah.
And I wanted to touch on you and Nate the Great's relationship.
Sure.
Because I seen you guys. What is it called? It is called a Tightcaster. I seen you guys making a Tightcaster. So how did that come about? Do you guys build projects together all the time? I think it was like I seen him with a drill, you with a drill. You were like making some type of project DIY.
Yeah. That's an interesting question. So we had built a couple of what were they called? They were called planters.
Planters.
Yeah, we built.
Oh, is that what was in front of PEX?
In PEX, yeah, which are still there to this day. We made 4 planters, and obviously during COVID, they needed ways of having folks sit out front with good decor, cars go by, protect them, while being able to decorate them and give them like a good vibe. So they wanted plants to go inside these, which is why they're called planters.
Planters, right.
But in addition to that, they wanted them to be mobile. So we actually started with the frame while it was light, upside down, drilled the casters in, which is what I think you're referring to.
Yes.
The wheels that swivel. We drilled those in, flipped it over, and then we started to do the framework around it. The decor, if you will. And then you could just roll them around, move them, and you can also lock those casters so that they stay put.
Yeah.
But they look good, they create a barrier, and they're mobile. And that was always the goal.
And it also made like a good like DJ stand. I'm pretty sure somebody had DJ'd on it before.
Yo, Intel Hayesfield definitely rocked on one of those.
Shout out to Intel, man.
Yeah, what up, homie?
Off the Record coming soon, man.
So, I appreciate the fact that you are even bringing up the fact that him and I were doing that together versus him and I DJing together.
Right.
Because DJing is just something that,
it's one of the elements.
It literally is one of the elements for me because to be completely honest with you, while I love DJing is on my path, but it is not my path. And that was the one thing that I really wanted to say as this journey continues today. All right. I'm into a lot of things.
I see, man.
Yeah.
I did some research, man, and definitely found out that you were a very interesting individual, man.
Yeah.
And I must say, before we even get into any further in the interview, with you being one of the well-known names out here as a DJ, just seeing your brand and seeing, your name just pop up more and more and more, but then getting to meet you, you see, it all made sense.
Sure.
As a whole, and you know, it was a authentic. I don't even remember the first time I actually met you. That's the craziest part. But it was a very authentic encounter. And
I heard you definitely before I saw you.
Likewise, exactly.
On SUNY.
Yeah,
You know, shout
exactly.
out to Lo-Fi Lobo.
Yes,
Who'll be on the
sir.
show. Stand
Yes,
by.
sir. Off the record coming soon. So now let's get into, so where did you learn how to DJ, man? Where did that come from? Yeah, let's talk about it.
Where did you learn how to DJ? Wow, wasn't prepared for that, but I'm sure I can figure it out. I was a producer first.
Okay.
I've been making beats since the 90s. And I would get into it, then I'd step away, I'd get into something else, I'd come back to it. And then there was a situation where one of my mom's coworkers was closing her business and she had a computer. And my mom reached out to me, she's like, there's an Apple Mirror drive at Rita's studio that she's closing up. Do you want this computer? And I was like, yeah, because I could probably make beats on it. Because I started out as an analog producer. I was using the ASR 10, which is the same machine that Kanye, the RZA, all these guys have used and probably still use.
Right.
Anyway, so I went down, I got this Mirror Drive computer. I went with my man Arigato and drove down to I don't know, Secaucus, New Jersey or something. Picked up this computer. It was in tip-top shape. Brought it back home. One of my coworkers, I was working at the museum at the time, he was like, yo, I have a whole disc filled with music software that you can upload. It was like Market a Unicorn and Fruity Loops and Cubase, and I don't think it was Pro Tools, but whatever.
Right.
And it had GarageBand on it.
Oh, wow.
So I brought it home, I put all these programs in, I started dabbling, and the one that was the most user-friendly at the time was GarageBand. So I started using GarageBand, I made a whole bunch of beats, and then me and Arigato recorded a record. And then we started to perform this record out. So I would give these instrumentals to the guy in the sound booth at Red Square, now Parish Public House. I would hand the disc to the sound man, and we'd be like, all right, stop that one. The next track. You know, we're just pointing at him, and I'm just Gatto's hype man.
Yeah.
I'm like, there's no turntables, no nothing.
Oh, wow.
So that's part one. So then we're like, yo, this is whack. We're like real genuine hip hop heads. Like, we do this. We need a DJ. So we were hitting up my man DJ Playground. We were hitting up Nate the Great to come and spin Gatto's instrumentals, and I would still be Ralph's Gatto's hype man. But these guys, what they were doing was they were looking out for us. They were, you know, because we're all good friends. It was a very organic camaraderie. But these guys were taking nights off of their clubs, Pearl Street Pub or Sneaky's or wherever that they were playing, to come and do a rap show that wasn't very well attended. Making whatever money that we made at the door, we're basically giving our DJs, which is still not even close to what they would make at their club nights. So, out of necessity, I started dabbling with DJing. This was never a goal of mine.
To alleviate the cost type thing and just,
So I had like a tractor or a Torque. I don't even, you remember Torque?
No.
And that's exactly it, you know. It's like Torque came out, Tractor came out, like these other things came out. So I had a Torque device that I used, which was USB, went into my laptop, and basically you had to get all your music ready ahead of time because you couldn't do like cue points or you couldn't listen to it beforehand because it literally went into your laptop via USB, but there was no way to listen.
Yeah.
So I had to get all my music ready beforehand. I would do all of that, do the shows, and Playground eventually would come over to my house and he's like, what the hell is that? And I was like, what? He's like, dude, what is this thing? He goes, yo, go get yourself a Serato box, go get yourself a used turntable and get a mixer. So Lo-Fi Lobo had a used like Gemini mixer. I went to Daddy Junkie's Music, which is still around at the time. I bought a used turntable. I had one turntable, one mixer, and essentially I just started doing Gatto shows, and that would turn into me making a little bit money to get another turntable, and then eventually people asking me to play other than hip hop shows as
at
a
the
backup
showcase.
DJ.
Yeah, that's dope. That's dope. That's
So
dope.
that it really was never a goal of mine. I have always loved music. I come from a musician family. My grandfather was a jazz musician. My uncle was a classical harpist. Always fly music playing in my in my house growing up. But I realized that I enjoyed making music. I enjoyed hearing sound that made me feel a certain way, and ultimately I wanted to go out into the world and make other people feel the way I was feeling when I was experiencing these songs.
I like that.
From the first time, or maybe even something older from my childhood, and like resurrecting that.
Yeah. So I have a question where I say, do you feel like you found DJing or DJing found you?
Definitely found me.
But exactly, you answer that, and that's it's very similar to kind of my situation where, you know, I didn't like look out to specifically be a DJ, but being on WCDB, shout out to WCDB, you know, I realized I had the opportunity to not only get credits but also play music because I also love music. But on top of that, I have one of my best friends from Brooklyn. He's a music artist, and he needed the extra exposure. So the first year I got on WCDB, all I did was play all his tracks. Probably like in a row on repeat. So it's very similar. Like it's sometimes
I was
it's
first out there. I was just playing Gatto's music.
Yeah, sometimes it's meant to be. So question for you is, are you originally from out here? I feel like a lot of people don't know that.
Nah, but I can't claim any place else. Then I can't claim any place but the Capital District anymore.
Okay.
Because I've lived here since '95. So I haven't lived anywhere longer. I've lived in the city, Staten Island. I've lived in Queens. I've lived in the Bronx. Stayed in Queens, stayed in the Bronx. Lived in Staten Island, and lived in Westchester. Lived in Boston, but none of these places were like honestly more than 10 years.
Oh wow!
It was like boom, boom. I did like elementary school, middle school, high school, bang, bang, bang. Then I went to college in Boston, Northeastern. Ran track, failed out miserably, moved back home, lived with my folks, and then applied to colleges in the Capital District, Binghamton, New Paltz, St. Rose, Albany. And got into Albany. I didn't even get into those other schools.
Albany? You went to Albany?
I not only went to Albany, I ran track at Albany.
Oh,
and I got a degree. I got my undergraduate degree there, and then I got my master's at St. Rose.
Oh wow!
Yeah,
I didn't know. Okay, you a Great Dane. Let's go, Great Danes. Shout out to the Albany women's field hockey. They just won the American East Championship. So
That's
shout out to that, man. Shout out
I
to
was
them.
there during the days when Trey Lee was the song. That was one of the jams. Everywhere that my crew go, we get.
I'm gonna do my research.
I just remember like going to like campus center parties and that being like one of the big jams. That was like the hit. That was like the hit. So, but yeah, that was my time period.
No, that's dope. So, now, for those of you who do not know, man, this is one of the most dapper DJs in the game. He's very chill, and I Mustache Love. What is his name?
I'm Love.
Oh, I Am Love. I read into the mustache. It looked like a mustache. All right, fair enough.
That's actually yin and yang.
Yeah, I seen that too, but I seen a mustache originally. But
shout out to the Impact. Go ahead.
Shout out to the Impact.
Yeah.
So, but seriously, so if y'all don't know, man, this is one of the dapper DJs. I might cut to a B-roll now. But seriously, one of the most dapper DJs, man. He's always got the suits, the fits, the hats, the socks. It's to the T. What's this one called?
So that's the square.
The square, it's not a handkerchief.
That's a pocket square.
Pocket square.
And then this one up here is the boutonniere.
The boutonniere. See, he's teaching me.
Haberdashery.
Oh
last
man.
time you were at a haberdashery?
I didn't know how to spell haberdashery.
Yeah, I was at a haberdashery in London, and I found these fly shoes.
Uh-huh.
And while I was getting fitted for the shoes, dude comes down and he hands me a glass of cognac.
What?
Yeah.
What? Getting some spirits while.
How do those feel? How do those fit?
Listen,
I was like, oh, they're not bad. You sure?
You bound to buy something after that. You bound to buy something.
I was like, man, This is.
They need to do
this
that.
is some
They need to
trick.
do that with DJs at Guitar Center. I'm buying everything.
Guitar dashery.
I'm buying everything. So I asked that question because
You didn't ask a question.
I did, but well, I'm going into this question because you being the dapper one, right?
Sure.
Sir Dapper, man. Hold it down real quick.
Yeah.
So your mom,
Yeah.
with the penny loafers and the dimes.
Yeah, you caught the story.
Tell us that story real quick.
Yeah. I mean, it's as simple as can be, and there's a little video on, I don't know.
On his website.
And so I used to wear penny loafers when I was a kid, and my mom put dimes in them. And man, when I tell you that I went through those dimes because there was a candy store next to my middle school.
Yeah.
And I would take those dimes out, and I would get so much candy. I got cavities to this day. But I was like, Mom, why are there dimes in my shoes? Because she was like, I want you to be different. And I was like, oh, all right. No, I didn't say, oh, all right. I was like, you're crazy.
Yeah,
probably.
like,
That's really what I was saying. But as I got older, I started to see it. But, you know, she kept me in some slacks. She kept me in some Izods or whatever. She just didn't want me. She just wanted me to present myself well, and she wanted me to represent her and the rest of the family well in the way that I dressed. And I genuinely feel like that that contributed to my style. And I even talked about this with her when I was setting up my business. Because when I was first DJing, I wasn't dressing up. I dressed casually. I wore sweatshirts or... but when I started my wedding business, I was like, all right, I'm going to dress well for this. And then I started to understand the value and or significance of a tailor, of learning how to tie a bow tie, the details, wearing a pocket square, wearing a boutonniere, but then maybe pushing those colors so that they connect to, say, the bow tie and or the socks and or the suspenders. You know what I'm saying? Like all of that. And being very, very intentional about the pieces that I wear and spreading them out and making sure that I have a number of suits for the month or tops and bottoms for the month and whatnot. And there's a little bit of a obsessive compulsive in there, you know. And you know, that's not a bad thing, you know. It's just a way that helps me operate.
So on that note, this is a question. Shout out to Ray Frazier, because I went on Facebook. I was like, listen, guys, I'm interviewing the one and only Trumastr. What's the question y'all got for me? And one of the questions was, how many suits do you own?
So I have 14 suits. I have 6 blazers.
Okay.
I have about 15 pairs of slacks.
Wow.
But different, like tweed, wool, cotton, you know, plaid pattern,
Variety is key.
And then I have 54 bow ties.
Wow.
Yeah.
And this is another Ray Frazier question. What's the situation with bow tie over regular tie? What's this?
Again, Ray Frazier, it's the difference between a penny and a dime.
Boom.
It really is that. You know, I could have just said the answer, but I really wanted to bring it back to that. It was that simple. You know, everybody had a penny, but nobody had dimes in theirs, in their shoes.
I like that.
So I'm gonna rock with a bow tie. And I tie them myself. I don't have any clip-ons.
Ooh.
I tie every bow tie.
Tie your own bow ties. So
if you want.
No,
you know,
I know.
Or I'm gonna tie my bow tie.
It is what it is.
Right.
It is what it is.
Yeah.
But there's YouTube out there. Tie your own time. So for people who don't know too, so how'd you get the name Trumastr, and like where did that come from?
That name comes from my family.
Okay.
That comes from my parents.
As in like so.
My father and my mother, they made me. I made the name.
So your real name is Trumastr, is what you're saying?
Yeah. Correct.
Your license.
It's documented.
True.
Yeah. And it has nothing to do with me being a DJ. Because as I told you, it was never my intention, it was never my plan to be a DJ.
Right.
I literally went to what made the most sense to me at the moment. You know what I'm saying? True comes from the Latin root truce, which is an agreement, and master comes from the Latin root maestro, which means teacher. My name means one who agrees to teach. In short.
Your parents knew what they was doing, huh?
Yeah.
They was intentional. They were like, "Listen, we gonna create." That was like the Powerpuff Girls, but like
sure.
But the
or alchemy. Sure. All of
like
that.
we're super intentional with this.
Yeah. So, and interestingly enough, before I was a DJ, I was a teacher.
Mm-hmm.
So I taught at Bishop McGinn.
Oh, okay.
Taught at Hackett.
What'd you teach?
What?
What did you
History.
teach? History.
Yeah.
I could see it was a.
And then I taught for the New York State Museum for about 15 years.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was actually able to retire. But during those last 4 or 5 years of working at the museum, I started DJing.
Mm-hmm.
And I realized that the DJing, first of all, I was killing myself because I was working 5 days a week at the museum.
Not working, yeah.
But then, like, Wednesday night, I'm DJing at Justin's. Thursday night, I'm DJing at Justin's. Friday night, I'm DJing at Justin's. Saturday night, I'm DJing at Justin's. Yeah.
That's a 7-day job.
And
at
then
that
I'm
point.
getting up in the morning and I'm going to a museum and I'm teaching young babies about indigenous people, Harlem Renaissance, and rocks and minerals of New York State. You know, and I'm like, critical mass.
Yeah.
Something had to give.
Mm-hmm.
And then I eventually announced to the museum, hey, thank y'all.
Gotta go.
It's time for me to go.
Right.
And I also had a part-time job at the same time, working for Delta Airlines as a baggage handler.
We gonna hop into Delta. Hold on.
Very well. Sorry.
Hold on. So, do you have any pre-gig routines? Like any? Do you have any like rituals in a sense that you do before the gig?
I used to.
Mm-hmm.
I genuinely feel like much of what I do with regards to DJing is on autopilot now. But there was a checklist. So if it was a wedding,
Yep.
very specific clothing. Actually, you know what? There is something that I do. When I have a wedding, I go downstairs and I have a couch by my window, which is where I set up my laptop.
Yep.
And I make a cup of pour-over coffee.
Mm.
My beans either come from Alias Coffee or Stacks. Shout out to the locals.
Support.
All right.
Local.
I make a cup of pour-over, sit it on the end table next to me, crack open my laptop, and I just go over my announcements, make sure that my first dance songs are marked and cue pointed at the same point. Yeah,
right.
That they're legit files,
Mm-hmm.
all that good stuff. And I just sit with my wedding for the day for about an hour, sometimes less, but I always give myself an hour. And I even made sure that the chair is across from a clock.
Oh,
the clock on the
and
wall.
Why is that? To pay attention to
Yeah,
time?
just to look at me,
Mindfulness?
I don't necessarily look at the clock on the laptop. I like an old hands clock,
Right.
and I put one that's directly across from that chair, so I can keep an eye on it, and I know where I'm at as far as like, all right, it's time to wrap it up, or I gotta go a little faster.
Right.
Sometimes I get distracted, whatever, looking out the window, or there's certain songs that they want to hear in the night of the wedding, and then I'm listening to it, and it's making me think about something else.
Another song that they might like.
That I might want to. So, but the clock is there to be like, hey,
It is time.
yeah, all right, let's go load up the truck.
Ironically, you don't have a watch on, so that's
I
so funny.
I never want to watch.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Well, on that note too, you got a favorite accessory?
I enjoy a bangle or two.
Some rings.
I enjoy some rings, usually lapis or turquoise.
Okay.
And the cool thing about lapis is that it's actually a throat chakra stone.
Interesting. I didn't know that.
So it's for communication, and I communicate through music.
That was a nice
Yeah,
one. That was
yeah,
a nice
yeah,
one.
yeah.
So
And that's real. That's real.
So you ever had you got some time in the game. So have you ever had a DJ scare where you're like, oh crap, like I gotta like think on my toes or improvise?
One time I went to a wedding and I went to the wrong venue.
Oh my! And was it like far out or?
It was in. I drove to Saratoga, but the wedding was in Latham. So I came back down.
40 minutes. I mean,
Yeah,
you give enough time where.
that happened once. I've actually had 2 events where my equipment wasn't working.
Just technology, just.
One of them was a wedding. Nobody knew anything about it. So what I ended up doing was I played off of my phone, and I had to plug the phone directly into the speaker.
Yes, always bring them backup cables for aux or whatever it is.
Yeah, I just went RCA phone jack, and I literally rocked the rest of the wedding. And then recently, nobody even knows this. Excuse me. I did the Sea Smoke party for Halloween.
The masquerade.
The masquerade party.
Yep.
And about 20 minutes into the party, my mixer just wasn't responding. So I had to basically run off of my laptop and periodically plug and unplug my Rain 12s in and out of the mixer. So I was doing all cue points and whatnot on the laptop. So I
just dropping it on the.
Yeah, basically I felt like I was just laptop DJing.
Laptop DJing.
Yeah, and I had all the equipment to do otherwise, but it wasn't.
That is
prepared.
definitely the worst.
Yo.
Yeah. So.
Is it possible for me to ask you a question?
Yeah. I mean, I'm the interviewer, but come on, yeah, why not?
I'm gonna keep it simple.
Yeah.
When all of this is said and done, and you've
Yep.
gone through your list,
Yep.
is it at all possible to hand these questions over to someone else and you be interviewed?
Yeah, I would love that, but the thing is, I tailor my questions according to who it is. There's not a generic.
Okay.
There is a kind of set list of questions, but I do my research and I, make sure
Okay.
I do my diligence in
so fine.
researching a person. But I would love to. Anyone wants to?
Okay.
Anybody? I would love to.
I think that would be great.
I would. I would actually love that. And
Yeah.
over the years, I've done a bunch of interviews with WCDB, and I've probably done maybe, since I've started DJing, 7-8 years, I've done maybe 4 interviews, ironically, and interviewed over 100, 150 people. So
Yeah.
I would love that. Good question. Good question.
That's it.
So now, say I true. I love the branding.
Yep.
And that's another thing too. Just over the years and just watching you. I love. I realized within the DJ game, branding is important.
Sure.
To the
You get it.
to the point where you have 2 different turntables. You have the white reins and then you have the black reins. So
Sure.
at what point did you figure that out in regards of, for my weddings, let me go white, and if I'm in a bar, I'm gonna do black. Like
Right.
something as simple as that
Yeah.
can stand out and make such a difference.
Yeah, and shout out to Main Events, Jermaine. He actually reached out to me today because he was asking me about how I changed the cover on the back of my laptop.
Yep.
And essentially what I did was I ordered protective covers, a black set and a clear set
Yeah.
for my laptop. And then I went to my graphic designer and decal person, and I gave them the dimensions.
Design.
And then I just put the stickers on the backs of those so that whatever the event was, I could just easily swap
The cover.
so that it matches the turntables that you're referring to. So I got the white one that goes with the white turntables. And I just thought that it was just a clean look that was ideal for weddings. Because I used to have black uplights. Right? And then I realized that most of the venues I play at, the walls are white.
Right.
So why not have white walls?
Right. Compliment
It's
them.
really just about cleanliness, streamlining. Because I don't want to do a wedding and be I don't need to stand out.
Mm-hmm.
I really, just like you said, I need to compliment.
Right.
All right, I don't need to make it about me, and that's it. I don't want to talk about what other people do. I know that what I want to do is offer a really nice, streamlined, clean product. I don't want wires all over the place. I want things to look neat. You know, again, it's part of, you know, my OCD.
Mm-hmm.
It works for me, so I'm going to make sure that I utilize this special skill set that I have.
Right.
And then the same with having a black set. Usually those are events that are private parties and or clubs or events that are not wedding related.
Yeah.
So those events, I want folks to follow DJ Trumastr. And then wedding related events, I want them to follow Say I True.
Say I True.
And the equipment reflects that.
I like that. I like that. And that's something I realized very, very quick. I was like, wait, he's got 2 different pairs and this is one, right? It's like, this is crazy. So now let's talk about the one, the only Beatshot, man.
Sure.
So explain to the people, what is Beatshot? How did you come about it? And also, you know, what does Beatshot mean to you?
Yeah. Around the same time that Arigato and I were making these records, we met Lo-Fi Lobo, Jody Cowan.
Shout out to Jody.
Jody had a radio show, which I feel like you would eventually take over that slot, kind of fill that void.
WCDB.
WCDB of interviewing and playing independent music, et cetera, hip hop in particular. So Jody had stopped doing that, and he started running with us. I mean, he was doing his own thing and jobs in various capacities, but we were doing work together because we were like-minded individuals. We loved photography. We loved, independent music, whether it was known or less known. We loved independent music. And we also loved music that was just a little bit different. That spoke to us, you know, because we were both, you know, jazz heads and underground hip hop enthusiasts, and we loved visual art and spoken word. You know, these are things that I have been involved in, you know, most of my adult career. Independent film,
Right.
you know, going to film festivals, like all of that stuff is connected to who we are. So to find somebody like Jody introduced to me by Arigato was like the perfect team. And what we were doing at the time was we were going to hip hop shows, taking photos of the performers, getting their email addresses, and then emailing them the photos that we took of them so that they could put them on their MySpace accounts.
MySpace, wow.
Their MySpace accounts. And we became known for that. And I don't know if it was a half-baked idea or extremely intentional, but I do know that we were playing around with different names, and because we were producing music and making music for each other and doing photography, beat were the beats that we were making, and then the shots were the shots we were taking. And that's where the name came from, Beatshot, and it really stuck. We had only gone through 2 logos, to be honest with you, maybe 3, and we have been on the last logo probably for about 7 or 8 years, which was made by Mitch from Pig Food Records. Yeah, he was definitely one of, you know, amazing artist talent. Jack of so many trades, but graphic design was definitely one of his skill sets, and he made that logo for us, and we haven't turned back. So Beatshot would become a record label. It would be a production house. So if folks wanted to record through us, we had a studio set up, which was my apartment, and I had a spare room that I turned into a studio. So if cats wanted to record, we made music videos. We provided beats for people. We did features. We had artists on our label, if you will. It never became super official until recently.
Right.
And then we would do monthly shows called EOM, end of the month.
End of the month, I like it.
EOM, and it used the font and letter styles from Men in Black. So if you see an old EOM image, it was very similar to the Men in Black. Also, Mitch did that for us, and we would always showcase 3 artists, and I would DJ before and after. And it was at McGeary's pub, Irish pub, in the back room. And when I tell you, it looked like the Shelter in 8 Mile. It really did. We had fog. It was always packed. We had a really great vibe. And then we would do this every month. And then at the end of the summer, we would do the Beatshot Music Festival.
Yeah.
And to be honest with you, EOM came after Beatshot Music Festival, because the first Beatshot Music Festival, because Jody and I both have July birthdays, we were like, yo, what do we want to do for our birthday? Yo, let's just invite all of our friends who we've been taking photos of to just come perform for a night.
Show, yeah.
Yo, 800 people showed up the first time we did one.
Wow.
We were like, we looked at each other at the end of the night. We were like,
bro,
we're onto something.
Yeah.
So we did it every year, and we did EOMs in between. And it went for 10 years, and we stopped on 10. It was a good number. X marks the spot. And X also represents the unknown.
Was the last, I don't know how many you did at Lost and Found, but was the last one at Lost and Found?
The last one was at Lost and Found.
I think
many of them were.
I think I only came to the last one,
Yeah.
which is crazy.
So the first half was at Red Square.
Yep.
Second half was at the Hollow. And then the last one, because we took some time off. I had also gotten into weddings. So it was like a summer where I was just doing too much. And I said, I can't end on 9. I got to have a 10th one. And I had established a really good rapport with Lost and Found. And we ended up doing it there, of course. We wanted to have 2 spaces for performances.
Inside, outside. That was fire. That was fire.
Yeah, but on one of the days it rained outside, so we were really struggling with the lineup and keeping, but it all worked out in the end, and we were able to meet that mark of having a 10th Beatshot Music Festival and wrapping it up.
Yeah, that was, go ahead.
And the last thing I want to say is that Beatshot is not gone. I took it, and I took its worth, and I created an LLC out of it.
Ooh.
And then I also created a minority and women-owned business out of it. So it's certified. It has an LLC. It's now a business, because I wanted to do something, like I said, it had social capital. People know and understand it still and think back or whatever, and I just couldn't let that go away. So that is the umbrella corporation, and I'm underneath that. So DJ Trumastr is a DBA of Beatshot, and so is Say I True. Yeah.
And hence all the collabs we see, Lucas Confectionery and Beatshot, Whiskey Pickle and Beatshot.
I make sure that, this is still a production company. Yeah. Because we used to produce really fun events, dance parties, shows, spoken word, food, there's nothing new under the sun. Everything that's happening right now needs to happen, and it needs to continue. I'm not saying that what is happening now is unique. It's unique to those who are doing it. Like what I was doing and what Beatshot was doing, it wasn't unique. Yeah. It was just unique to us.
Right. 100%.
There's room for everybody to do what they're doing.
Everybody eats, B.
Let's go.
So now back to Delta.
Sure.
So working with Delta Airlines, you said you got the opportunity. Hold on, let me bring out the stats for this one. I get to see the phone for this one. So 4 continents, 38 countries, 400 cities. Wow. That's all I can say to that. Wow. So with being able to work with Delta, you were also DJing as well. So 400 cities?
Probably more now. I'm still flying. I'm still going.
Do you
I went through a passport, yo.
I believe it.
Yeah.
Do you have, now my question is, do you have, with all that traveling, do you have any places that you would recommend to someone and be like, listen, go here and try this food from this location, like specifically?
Yeah, that's funny. There's a thing I did in one place. There's something I ate in another place.
Mm-hmm.
And there's also a thing that I did in the third place. And these are my top three.
Yeah.
So in no particular order, Sedona, Arizona.
Arizona.
Yeah, which interestingly enough, Intel Hayesfield and Allie, they just
Was
came
just
back.
there. Yeah.
I've been going there for years. My uncle lives in Phoenix, my father's brother. So when I first started working for the airline and I didn't have much money, I was going to places where I knew people were at.
Oh, okay. Smart. Yeah.
Phoenix was like, that was like one of the first places I went to. Spent time with him. And he's like, yo, you got to go up to Sedona. So he would either lend me his car, I'd rent a car, and I would drive up. It was like, I think it was like a 2-hour drive, whatever.
Not bad.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful red rocks, bell-shaped rocks, you know, mesas and hoodoos and spires and all these different rock formations. And I would go there. So that was definitely one spot. And I would always go there and I'd go hike. First time I went, I actually went with my uncle. And then every time after that, he was like, yeah, you going up to Sedona? All right, bye. I'll see you in a couple of hours. So that's definitely one. There's another one, which is Bali, Indonesia.
Bali.
Yeah.
I've heard good things about Bali as well.
And I went there in like 99, 2000. Maybe 90, maybe 98. Anyway, very, very, very beautiful place. I know that it has changed a lot because when I went, it was new to tourism. So it was super chill, and most of the tourists were from Australia. And now they're from all over the world.
Interesting,
okay?
yeah.
Yeah, because that's kind of like, if we go to the Caribbean,
Right.
Australians go to Bali. It's
Okay,
like that kind of
proximity,
thing.
close, yeah.
And I met a lot of, Aussies when I was there, if you will. Or Kiwis too, from New Zealand. What I enjoyed when I went there was I did a bike. I went on a bike, not even a tour, because it was like somebody relatively low. Oh, the same dude that took me scuba diving. He was like, I said, yo, can I, I want to ride a bike around. He goes, yo, I got you.
I know the guy.
He shows up, 2 bikes, and rice terraces. And,
Wow.
I remember getting my bottle of water stolen from me from monkeys. Like, it was just, it was dope.
The experience.
Yeah, it was very, very dope. And then Edinburgh, Scotland, I had, to this day, the best fish and chips in my life, which is in the northeast Scotland, because the 2 big cities in Scotland are Edinburgh and then Glasgow on the west. And I was on tour DJing for one of my best friends and mentors, J Live. Shout out to J Live. And it was right before the show, and he was on the bill. He was headlining the bill. Our opener was Bus Driver. Shout out to Bus Driver. And the food that they brought in for us was fish and chips. Whoa, like I got it. Like I understood, like the United Kingdom, Scotland, Great Britain.
Yep.
And then it being an island and having all of this fish around it and being really good.
That made
fish and
it made
chips.
sense, yeah.
Yeah, which we call French fries, but
French
they call
fries.
chips.
Yeah.
Anyway, or fries. So those are the 3: Scotland, Sedona, and Bali.
Put that on the bucket list, y'all.
Yeah.
So now, next question, work-life balance, man. How do you deal with the work-life balance? I know when we talked before, you said at the end of wedding season, you take, that trip.
Yep.
But how do you balance that? The work-life balance. You said it's your dad's birthday tomorrow. Happy birthday!
Yeah.
By the time this drops, it's gonna be a happy birthday.
Yeah, happy birthday, Pops. Just make the time. I recently hired an executive assistant. So shout out to Aura. She hooks up. She does my scheduling. She does contracts. Responds to all the little things. As soon as I get an email, As soon as I get a phone call, as soon as I get a text, I send it to her, and she categorizes it and puts it where it's supposed to be. And it really, really does allow me to be creative with my time. And that creativity includes family time, you know, going through music, watching shows
Right.
that I'm into, films, movies, whatever.
Being a regular human being,
you know,
right?
taking a walk, riding a bike, whatever. So I'm very, very grateful. I highly encourage it when you get to that point. And it was one of those things where I had a conversation with my sister about this the other day. And I was talking about how I worked for the museum all those years, and I realized that my heart wasn't in it anymore. And as a result, I knew I needed to leave. But my heart was really getting into this DJ thing.
Yeah.
So I started doing that. And even though I told my mom, hey, I'm going to stick it out for another 6 years because then I'll get my full pension, I ended up only staying for like another 4 or 5 months.
Oh, wow.
Because, as my mom would put it, the minute you think about leaving, you're already gone.
You're already out, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I did. So after a couple of months, I did leave. I gave them an end date or what have you. And I worked an entire year as a DJ, as an independent contractor. My lights went off. My phone got turned off a couple of times until the contracts
Be like that, man.
started to come in. You know, I had enough money to like pay my rent and pay my car note or what have you. And then I made it to that year mark. All right. So I make this point because I know that I want my business to grow in a very creative and productive way. And the only way that was going to happen was by hiring somebody to take the load off of me with all of these kind of, you know, I'm not going to say mundane, but these are things that
A little extra task.
Yeah, these are things that I shouldn't be like spending my time on if I do want this thing to grow.
Right.
Even if it means putting money into that comes out of my pocket, because it's not really coming out of my pocket.
Right.
It really is
Right.
reinvesting.
You're
into the
reimbursing
business.
yourself in a sense, yeah.
So, and I've already seen the difference. You know, there isn't a day that goes by where I'm not getting an email or a phone call about a job. There's not a day that goes by. You know, it's just a matter of who I can give it to, including myself.
Amen.
So
now I know you got the hammock in your house. Like you live in the life whenever you want to.
Okay.
Live the Trumastr life versus the DJ Trumastr life. I know you mentioned earlier the whale photography. You have a whole bunch of hobbies that you love doing. Is there a hobby that you like love the most out of it all, or?
So, it really just depends. I was an artist as a kid, you know, and I feel like I still am. You know, I was into drawing and painting and building and whatnot. So I don't really know what I'm going to do next.
Right.
All I know is that what I'm doing now, I'm going to do it well until it leans into something else.
Something else.
And I
right.
just have to be open and mindful to whatever that may be. I just, you know, I can't say this is what I'm supposed to do.
Right.
Because I'm a creative. And the reality is I like to make
It's so funny you said that.
I like to make something, and once it's made, I would like to make something else. So I made Beatshot. Then I made DJ Trumastr. Then I made Say I True. All right, these things they're like grown children at this time. You know, they're moving and walking about all on their own. And the interesting thing about children is that you don't know what impact they're going to have on the rest of the world, you know? So I'm not sure what that next thing is. I have a couple of ideas. I'm very much into structures, like building things. So there's a good chance that I may revisit building haunted houses. That's something that I used to do.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
So Halloween, yeah.
I love roller coasters. I'm not going to say I'm going to build roller coasters. But
That would be intense.
I do like to travel and go to different theme parks throughout the course of a summer.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm into film, and me and a couple of my friends are actually working on a couple of different films where I'm either acting or I'm writing and directing. So, I don't make any plans, because if I don't make any plans, nothing can go wrong. All right,
okay.
there's that. But I do have formulas, and I'm open. Therefore, I can, something can happen because I've made space for that something to happen.
Yeah, you got to be receptive and optimistic for sure.
Yeah, and I can either say yes or no.
So it's so funny, man. So the shirt's gotta. I gotta show you, because this is actually hilarious what you said. The word you said the trigger word.
Okay.
So shout outs to Trigger Me Tees, man. With the custom shirt. It's on the way. So yes, man. Shout outs to all my creatives out there, man. Shout outs to Trigger Me Tees. Shout outs to Louisa, man.
Louisa, you're the best.
So
I almost wore my legacy shirt. I almost wore it.
Crazy, right?
Yeah.
Crazy. So now your record collection, man. So let's talk about. So we got 2 records up here, but I know is this the one you specifically like out of?
Don't matter.
So
It's a Heat Wave record.
The Heat. Listen,
Sure.
Listen, man. I'm just a student to the game, man. So I remember before I put it up on the table.
Yeah.
It was in this, not the sleeve,
Plastic?
the plastic.
Yeah.
So it was in the plastic, and it had
Protective cover.
120 in it.
Sure.
Or a 120 sticker on it.
Yeah.
So explain the 120 sticker.
All right. So before the digital era of music and getting the BPMs, you actually had to sit and listen to a song and find out what its tempo was.
So how would you count it yourself?
Sure, you would count. So you set a timer for 1 minute, and then boom, boom, and you just clap.
Oh,
and
wow.
however many times you clapped in 1 minute is
That was
the beats
BP.
per
Minute, yeah.
That had a 120 on it. There's 2 songs on here that I would play out. One of them is Groove Line, and the other one is Mind Blowing Decisions. Mind Blowing Decisions was actually sampled by Nice and Smooth. And then Groove Line is just a funky disco track. All right, both of these records are actually disco / boogie records. This is more Caribbean.
Reggae disco is different. I don't know
So these are reggae tracks that are these are disco tracks performed by reggae artists.
Reggae artists, wow.
Yeah, and then again, so Heat Wave has this song Groove Line on it, and that was the one I played out. And I put the stickers on the outside, and I also color code them. So the neon, it was a neon green sticker, and it was $1.20. So all the records that were in like the 115 or 110s, they might have been like pink. And then as they went down, they were different colors, and I would group them together so that I knew that when I was in a fast zone, these were the records I could pick from. So that's why there was a sticker with a 120 on it.
That's very, very, very interesting.
Yeah, because that was the work that we had to do before, the
Digital era, yeah.
But there's nothing to be taken away from the digital because it allows us to be creative in other places. All right? Somebody figured that out for us. Go out there and be creative someplace else.
Yeah.
You don't have to sit here and
tap
right?
for 1 minute.
We do that for you. What else you gonna do? Go work on your branding. Go work on your outfits.
Right.
Go work on your interviewing people. Go do something else.
Right. Make your time more useful. Yeah. No, for sure. Do you have a number count on how many records or?
I got like 4,000 records. 3,500.
That one's on the record. You heard? That one's on the record.
Yeah. But they're also I've purchased estates. I acquired my grandfather's collection, my father's collection, my Aunt JoJo's, and one of my father's best friends, Uncle Alan. So between those, I've got a solid collection, and I really have records that I want. Like all the doubles I've gone through and I've taken them out and I've sold or given them out to people. Like all the records that I have, like I don't have any easy listening. I don't have any country because I don't listen to them, and I'm definitely not going to play it out. It's just not who I am.
Right.
So all the records that I have, It's intentional.
So do you, when you go to like all this traveling, 400 plus cities, do you specifically go like crate digging at these places or?
Not all the time.
Okay.
But, you know, if the time allows me, I will definitely, where's the good digging at? Yada, yada. So there's a place, I was in Gloucester, Massachusetts earlier today, and there's a place out there where I dig called Mystery Train Records.
Did you get any records when you were out there yesterday?
I didn't go. I didn't get anything this time. I stuck my head in there real quick, and I was like, nah, I'm good. But there's some good digging, especially in the Northeast. Salem's got good digging. And
That's dope. That's dope. All right, so Tech 12s, Rains, or controllers? Or should I say Tech 12s versus Rain versus controller? What are your thoughts on just the modernization of, you know, what the DJing has come to?
I'm good with it all because I see the value in everything. So I have a pair of Technique 1200s, which I bring out when I'm spinning vinyl because I still do vinyl events. And I'll spin vinyl all the time.
Yep.
Boom. So that's why I have those. Keep them well protected. Shout out to From Scratch DJ Repair. This brother from Albany moved to San Diego, comes back to Albany.
Wow. And
picked up an amazing skill, which was to repair Technique 1200s.
Ooh, yeah, that's definitely.
Shout out to W Steel. He's an amazing human being, and if there's ever anything wrong with your 1200s, he will find the answer. He will internally ground them. He will clean them up. He will change tone arms. He will change motors. Like, he'll put fly blue lights on you. Whatever it is, he got you. In any event, he took care of my 1200s, which is why they still run as if they were just purchased in 1984 or whenever they came out. I don't even know. So that's for the records, for vinyl. I use a Rain 1 all-in-one controller when I have small events where I am not super particular about how I sound, but I still want to have some control with how I play.
Right.
But the most joy that I experience spinning is on my Rain 12s because I got big hands and I really like to get into
the groove of things.
Yeah, the groove of things.
Very pun intended.
The groove line. There are many tracks on the record, but there's only one groove. Anyway, I like the 12s for that reason, which is why I have the white set, the blue set, because those are what I really want to DJ on. And there's an important piece of information about using the Rain 1 or 12s or a lot of these controllers for that matter.
Yeah.
And that is when you are DJing with needles, the things that you have to worry about is keeping your needles clean.
Yep.
Keeping them from breaking.
Yep.
Those are two independent things that you have to think about. So replacing needles, all of that. The next thing you have to think about is people bumping them.
Bumping them. The subs, yeah, we talked about that in the last episode. The subs as well, yeah.
And then lastly, you have to worry about sound. So you have to worry about physical interruption, but you also have to worry about audible interruption. So if there's too much bass, that bass goes into the needle, goes into your mixer, and then it keeps on regenerating and to the point where you're listening to only bass and your track is gone.
That's
and everybody's like,
yeah, I gotta get out of here,
yeah. So you don't have to worry about that with 12s, Rain 1s, or controllers. That's just not a thing anymore.
At all, yeah.
So, it allows you to be more creative in other places and not be worrying or panicking or, damn, I have this to think about. Now it is more technical, so there's the opportunity for things to go wrong, which we already spoke about.
Right.
But, that's why you bring backups and you do resets and you do RCA cables into your speakers so you have a chance to turn things off and turn
Give
back
yourself
on.
options,
Yeah.
So, do you have a favorite genre to DJ? Because I know, I heard you do the NOLA bounce.
Yeah.
But do you have a favorite genre?
Yeah, I genuinely feel like it has a lot to do with when I was able to be cognizant of music and understand like what's going on with music. And that might be the same for every person, or it might not be. But from whatever, the late 70s to the early 80s, late 70s to the late 80s is when I was really, really paying attention to what was happening with music. And visual television, visual music also dropped in and around that time. So
Right.
I'm a disco, boogie, funk, 80s, like I can play all of that music effortlessly, like eyes closed. I can switch genres. I can go all into it, from the hip hop to disco to new wave, to Madonna pop, like all of that. I can freak a set with any of that music. And then as time goes on, like especially 90s, 90s hip hop. Now I was here before rap was. It wasn't even called hip hop. It was called rap. I was here before it even came out, so I got to see the inception of that. So watching the iterations and the changes of it, I know that there is certain hip hop that speaks to me based on my history and what I'm into, and where I grew up, and having like jazz enthusiasts in my family, so when for example, when Gangstar and Tribe Called Quest came out, I was particularly fond of those artists because they sampled a lot of jazz, and a lot of jazz was played in my house by my father and my grandfather. In fact, they were sampling records that my grandfather and my father would play in the house.
Yeah, that's interesting.
So things like that. Therefore, when music continues to come out that has elements of those, even to this day, Masegos, Anderson .Paak, or what have you, then again, I feel like those artists might be speaking to me a little bit more. So there's a good chance that I'm gonna drop that stuff. K-Tronada, of course. Yeah. Like that music is really, and I just like good remixes of things. I like a lot of things that I'm hearing on TikTok. I think that some of these remixes where they're taking the words,
this and with that,
I think that's clever, and I appreciate that, because those are things that Kid Capri used to do, where if you heard a word in a song, that word could introduce another song. Like I've seen and heard that for years.
So very interestingly enough, I remember we had it came up one time. I was at one of your DJ sets, and I was like, yo, this is a classic. And you're like, this is a classic? Then you were like, what about the song I played like 2 songs ago that was probably like maybe like 10, 20 years before it? So what's your definition of a classic in your opinion?
All right. So you're actually kind of checking me on what I said then.
No, not at all.
I feel like you are now. No, you're not doing it intentionally. I'm almost like I'm rethinking what I said to you.
Oh, okay.
And probably what I should have said to you was that this is timeless and this is a classic. Okay, so.
Okay. I like that. I see where you're going with that one.
Yeah, and for example, when you go to a wedding, there are songs that seem to work for every generation. It could be something as simple as Journey, Black Eyed Peas, Bruno Mars,
Whitney Houston. Yeah.
Every wedding, like this woman is no longer alive, Whitney Houston. You were
Rest
nowhere in sight when this song came out, and you sing it better than she does. You know what I mean? That to me is timeless. That is timeless. That means every generation can appreciate it. Classic is when I said that to you, classic would be something like, yo, this song is super fly. And I was like, but what about this one? Well, that's where that song came from. That's where this person sampled it. Or, I think that's I feel like that's a better way of, like, I didn't lend the opportunity for me to to I just jump right into like, no, this is a classic, and I'm not sure if I'm giving like a real clear distinction between the two, but I know that whatever.
No, I get what you're saying,
Yeah.
and so on in your response, I would like to add on to say, classics are more debatable, but I feel like but I feel like timeless is like, bro, like, come on, like we don't even have to like really debate about this.
Yeah, and those are in all genres. Like for example, a classic. Thank you. Over like a Fat Rat or To Be Real, you know, and these are not songs. Before I let go, Frankie, like these are not songs you're gonna be able to play for everybody,
Right?
You know, but you can play Purple Rain or Let's Go Crazy for everybody, you know, and that's a timeless track, you know. I mean, I guess they could be classics too. It might be debatable.
And that's why I said classics are more so in the state of like, because my classic won't be your classic in a sense, but it's still like a classic
to me. Like, is Kick Push a Pack, you know, or whatever? Not a classic, but
yes,
I mean,
yes, it is a classic. It is a classic. But now the timeless, that we both know, that's not timeless, but
I'd like to give both of these
but it's
things
a classic.
I'd like to give both of these categories a home and make sure.
No, that's good. That's good that you brought up the term timeless, because that's something that is.
Yeah, like I'm playing Bohemian Rhapsody at every wedding, and everybody knows the words. The old people are getting up.
Yep.
The people who weren't dancing all night are all of a sudden walking dead.
Don't stop believing. No, for sure. So, following up on that, Ray Frazier had another question, which is really, really good. Prince or Michael?
Prince.
Ooh.
Prince, and I'm gonna say why.
Why? Tell me why.
Because the musicianship of Prince and the ramifications of, you know, the influences that he had, and, you know, the sounds. I mean, he was doing stuff with George Clinton. He made music. You know, he created the careers of Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis. You know, who would later make all of the music for like Janet Jackson.
The world. Oh, yeah.
You know, he's responsible for Sheila E.'s career. He's responsible for, you know, really cool and amazing. You know, we loved Tevin Campbell. We loved Tevin Campbell. We loved to play. What's that song that's like? What's that one joint?
I know what you're talking about, but it's not coming in the head. Can we talk?
Can we talk?
Yeah.
We love to play that song. Yo, that's Prince. Like Prince. Break it down. The original is by Prince. Like, Prince has super duper joints, but what he did for others and is, to me, is extremely sustainable. You know, and he was just such an oddball. You know, and that really does speak to me. And I'm not taking anything away from Michael Jackson.
No, not at all.
In fact, there were 3 artists that I wanted to see in my entire life, in real life. Prince, Michael, and Stevie.
Ooh. Did you?
Prince is the only one I didn't see.
That says a lot. So on that note,
because Michael's dope, like dancing.
Elite. On that note, in your opinion, what is the difference between an icon versus a legend?
Oh, I don't know, man. I don't know if I have the answer for that, but I will say this. If we had like a bunch of like really cool categories that we could just like list and then do like Prince, Michael, it'd be really fun. It'd be like a fun game. Like dancing, or, you know, films, or production, or hits. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like who wins?
It's very, yeah.
You know, because Michael definitely got more hits. Easily. That's like
Timeless.
Come on. He got way more bangers. But I'm partial to Prince, and not by a whole lot.
Okay.
But not by a whole lot. And they are both very high. Clearly, I do Prince Michael Stevie events, if not every year, every 2 years. In fact, I'm due.
Coming soon. On that note, MF Doom.
Dilla.
Where did I heard from the people, man, you are a big MF Doom, J Dilla fan.
I love them.
Where does that stem from?
It's the oddity. It's the obscurity that I was a weird kid, man. Like I didn't fit in. I kind of fit in on athleticism, but I wasn't like a top athlete.
Right.
I also went to an all-white school, so during a time where it wasn't super cool to be black yet. It ain't like today, you know. So in any event, MF Doom spoke to me because I was listening to a young artist. I was listening to a young group called Brand Nubian. Brand Nubian. They were dropping science. I mean, this was like the class. This was the Black Studies class that you needed to hear at the time, but through music. You know, that's who Brand Nubian was. And they introduced a group by the name of KMD. And KMD had Sub Rock and Zeb Love X. Zeb Love X, Sub Rock would eventually be Zeb Love X would eventually be MF Doom. You know, because he had a second career. I'm probably messing that up. But y'all go ahead and correct me.
Do the research.
You know what I mean.
Do the research.
So MF Doom loses his brother. He dies. He goes in recluse, and then he reemerges as MF Doom, and he always wears the metal
mask. Yeah.
But when I tell you the lyricism, the creativity, he did a lot of his own music, and the way he spoke to me. Because I feel like we're the same exact age. He was referencing cartoons, movies, and the way he was putting them together, and it was fun. He would sample a lot of the music that I was listening to, like Michael McDonald, Sade, Anita Baker. Like, these are the artists that he's sampling. And I was just like, this guy's literally making this music for me.
Right.
But then, fast forward to like the mid-'90s, I'm starting to catch wind of artists like The Far Side, Tribe Called Quest are in their third record, and they're all getting production from this very specific sounding producer by the name of J Dilla. And I'm always a music person first. I always like music, and I eventually make my way to the lyrics.
Right.
But I always like the way things sound.
Yeah, I'm a sound guy for sure.
Yeah, and again, I grew up listening to jazz. Not a lot of jazz had lyrics. Therefore, the music that I would get into later, that I want to make or want to listen to, it was always the sound. It was always the instrumentals and the production. You know, I loved Kanye for the sound he made, Marley Marl for the sound, Pete Rock for the sound that they made. You know, it wasn't really what they were saying. I would get to that. Anyway. Dilla was just making so many bangers. He had such a unique sound. The way he laid drums down, his choices of instrumentation, psychedelic rock and psychedelic R&B. Like, these were the records that he was digging for.
Yeah.
And I was like, nothing sounds like this. And any producer will say that. Some of the biggest producers are huge J Dilla fans. Kanye being one of them.
Right.
I'm one of them.
So while we on the hip hop note, shout out to my guy Vic, man. Vic had a question. He said, "Is Nice and Smooth the greatest hip hop group of all time?"
Oh.
No?
Oh.
All right, next question.
Oh.
Next question.
No.
Next question. So the culture then, as in like the culture back then, I feel like hip hop and music kind of knew what was going on and where we were going with it versus the culture now. We see everything going on. Rest in peace Takeoff, rest in peace PNB, Pop Smoke. It's unfortunate how we could just go on with the rest in peace now. But what are your thoughts on the culture then versus the culture now?
I can honestly say that I'm removed from the hip hop culture collectively, like as a whole, and I am not removed from the music culture.
I like that.
At
I
all.
like that. I like
You know,
that.
because that literally is one facet that I've had the opportunity to see from its beginnings, and you know, go in a direction that it chooses to go in. You know, and I'm not saying that it's a bad direction, because here's my bigger issue is not issue, but my concern is that the listener has an option. And I felt like I had options growing up listening to music. I wasn't force-fed music. I was presented with music, either from the radio or by my family, that allowed me to understand and appreciate. Because there's a lot of new music that comes out continuously that I am like unbelievably impressed with. Some of it is complicated. Some, you know, the Tyler creators.
Tyler creator, yep.
You know, the Sid the Kids, Anderson .Paak. That music really does speak to me, especially groups like the internet, because there's still musicianship. When I was growing up, everybody was playing instruments.
Yep.
You know, and there's a lot less of that. And if there are musicians, we're not hearing about them, we're not seeing them. Maybe they're, you know, maybe they're in places like the Deep South, where there's big bands in schools and in colleges. You know,
super background.
But you know, we're not always getting to experience that as listeners and as viewers of the hip hop culture. And I personally would like to see more of that.
Right.
Because it does get to show our breadth, our talent. You know, we made these instruments. Why aren't we using
heavy on
them?
the talent. Yep.
You know, and you know, for lack of a better phrase, a lot of the dope musicians don't look like us. You know, I mean, shout out to Monophonics. Shout out to Say Shishi. Shout out to you know, Crumbrin and all of these different artists that are making fly music that sound like music I grew up listening to. That sound like the Isley Brothers. That sound like Mandrill. That sound like, you know, but these people don't look like us. The people who are making this music. And I'm not saying that that's wrong, but I wouldn't mind that, you know, people like you and I
we made
like
it.
we're still making music.
So do you have any thoughts on the newest popular genre, drill music? I feel like I've never heard you even drop a drill song before.
I've been in places where drill music was appreciated. However, and I have a bunch.
Yeah.
It doesn't really resonate with me. It doesn't speak to my soul.
Right.
And that's probably why I don't play a lot of it.
Understandable.
I like music that changes, because I like music that questions the listener and doesn't lead the listener.
Right. I like that. I like that perspective. So from there, you know where I'm going with this. And if you don't, more music, less violence, man. You presented me my first ever Eddie Award, and it was a merit award specifically for the More Music, Less Violence movement. And you know, that was super dope. You kind of, it was a little, I was like, you was dangling it like, yo, like, hey, see you at the show. I'm like,
sure you're there.
Yeah, I'm like, all right, I'm sure. And we're in like second row. I'm like, all right. But you know, with the More Music, Less Violence movement, you know, the reason why I even started that was just because, you know, music was just in a weird space. And just bringing back feel-good music, you know. I felt like it was super needed, especially with all the talent within the 518. So definitely want to say shout out to you for that, man, because that was I think, I'm pretty sure that's the first DJ Hollywood award I've ever gotten, along with, you know, it just being affiliated with the movement. That was super dope. So
You know why?
let me hear it.
I started Beatshot. I started Beatshot because I wanted to celebrate independent music, independent artists, and independent thought. That was always the background behind Beatshot.
Right.
And I genuinely felt like while you didn't know anything, you knew some of what Beatshot was about and what it stood for, you created something that I genuinely felt like the baton was being passed. Where, because we were always like a peaceful movement.
Right.
You know, Beatshot was never like, we were dancing, we were fun-loving.
Good vibes.
Always good vibes. We celebrated everybody. You know, everyone felt welcome at our events. And more music, less violence. I felt did the same thing. You were looking for artists that were all walks of life, that were providing different types of music, not just one sound, not just one look.
Right.
You were doing something that we were doing, and you didn't even know that we did that. You know, which said to me, "Oh, this is organic. This feels right. This is something." And I, interestingly enough, you and Jody kind of came from the same place. Like him and I connected.
Crazy enough, yeah.
I mean, I was DJing, spinning and interviewing and doing all kinds of fun stuff and being there while he was interviewing people up at WCDB. So
yeah, full circle, man.
I was like, you know what? This needs to be recognized. So, I thank you for that. I thank you for the energy. I don't have the energy to do that anymore. So I'm really glad that you're doing it, that you thought to do that, you had the fortitude to do that, and you're putting the energy and branding and all the things that I did, And you, like I said, you did it independent. It's like, oh, I'm going to do a Trumastr, arigato. And
right.
No, you...
Yeah, I'm hearing the story for the first time here, so yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, for sure. So, speaking of, man, we got some shows at the top of 2023, so stay tuned, man. Stay tuned. So, your sticker, your brand, your slogan changed the world through music?
Correct.
So, now, my last question, man. So, a lot of people discredit the importance and impact of music. So, why for DJ Trumastr is it more than just music?
Well, like I said, as an odd kid, there were certain things that I did when I was young. For example, play with toys, play with cards, action figures. But while all of that was happening, there was a record playing in my bedroom. Small, record player.
Yeah.
2 knobs, needle drop. That has been with me all throughout my life. I've worked at record stores. I worked for Billboard. I've made music. It is literally a common thread. My favorite animal is the humpback whale, which sings.
I almost asked you that too.
Humpback whales sing.
Wow.
I can go on.
The Marley?
Can I see that record?
You see us? I had a feeling.
He said it. One thing about music, when you hear it, you feel no pain.
You feel no pain.
There's constantly a feeling that I experience when I'm playing music that I'm hearing for the first time, and when I feel something, I want other people to feel it. I still have that, and I'm happy that I still have that. It lets me know that I'm not done with DJing yet. So
that's it. I love it, man. I love it. Listen, True. Appreciate you, man.
Thank you so much for having
Wholeheartedly.
me. Yeah.
Listen, make sure, where can they tap in with you on Instagram?
Yeah, it's just at DJ Trumastr, no E's. DJ Trumastr.
Yeah, they took down his gram, man. So we gonna revamp that. We revamping that, man.
Yeah, they actually took it. It finally went down. Yeah, I'm glad.
It's your boy DJ Hollywood, DJ HollyW8D, man. It's another episode of Off the Record. It's on the record, but it's off the record. But if you know, you know, man. Stay tuned for more. Like, subscribe, share.
Follow this man.
It's more than music, baby.
Yeah.
That was fire. What's this?
You are now tuned in to Off the Record. Off the Record. Off the Record. Off the Record.
record.